video on, we would love to see you. So hi, I'm Jeanine Buzali. I'm one of the leaders of Ashoka's Changemaker company's team, which is our corporate advisory arm, and I'm in Washington, D.C. For those of you we haven't met, Ashoka is a global nonprofit who curates the largest network of social entrepreneurs worldwide, where we have over 4,000 fellows in 90 countries. And then we're also working on advancing social innovation and change making in every area of society, including the private sector, which is where we're going to focus today. So I'm really thrilled to welcome you to this webinar. We're going to be hearing some key results from a global survey that we conducted with our partner GlobeScan. Then we're having a panel conversation and some case studies from the work that we're doing with companies who are already putting employees at the forefront of closing the intention action gap towards this just transition that we know is so critical in this moment. There will also be time for a Q&A, so please put questions in the chat throughout. We're going to be sort of curating and navigating the questions from the chat. And again, if you feel so inclined, please do turn on your camera. So we have a lot to talk about today. We're gonna jump right in. If you're just joining us, welcome again. We're gonna start introducing our panelists. So let's start, Sarah, let's start with you.
Thanks so much, Jeanine. Well, a big thank you for everyone being here and making us part of your daily priority. We really appreciate it. I'm Sarah Jefferson from Ashoka. I've been with the organization for many years, going on 17 years. So you might be asking, what about Ashoka has kept me for so long? And it's the vision, the mission, the amazing global network of people, and I think our entrepreneurial spirit, entrepreneurial culture. And I think some of those themes will come up in today's webinar. I have had many roles at Ashoka. Right now I'm leading our knowledge and insights work for corporate partnerships. So excited to be thinking about our decade plus years of working with companies, advising them, delivering with them, and kind of being able to think about what we're learning and putting out more frameworks, case studies, et cetera. So more of that to come.
Thank you, Sarah. Tanja, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jeanine. Yes, my name is Tanja Vermeer, and I work in Boehringer Ingelheim, a German global company, healthcare. And I'm very happy to be here. I've joined Boehringer already in 2016, and I would say it's the same reason as Sarah. I'm here due to the values and mission of the company, and I'm very happy to share a bit more and hope to inspire many to do more work together.
Thank you, Tanja. John?
John Welps. I'm from out in West Texas, a little town called Nazareth by Amarillo. I work for Kersia, a food safety company that services all aspects of the food industry all the way down to production. And that's where I come in at. We service and provide sanitation solutions to all aspects of the dairy, both production and processing. And I'm excited to share kind of what Ashoka has brought to Agrichem and Kersia, and how it's brought us all together and be able to share and become a more efficient company, especially in communication in these aspects.
Thank you, John. Tove?
Hi, I'm Tove Malmqvist from GlobeScan. We are a global insights and advisory firm. I lead on several of our syndicated large research studies, both for public opinion studies and also stakeholder studies, looking at things like recognized leadership in sustainability and engagement on social issues, and how people around the world view companies in these areas, and how employees as well view companies in these areas. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes. So before we jump in and let Tove share some key results with us, I just want to welcome everybody who's been joining in the last few minutes. Welcome. We're having this weird glitch where everyone joins as Philippe, so please do change your name if it's showing up as Philippe. We're going to do a few minutes now of Tove showing us this data, and then we'll go into our panel discussion. So Tove, over to you.
Okay, perfect. So once a year at GlobeScan, we run a very large global public opinion study. It's run in 31 markets around the world. Maybe you can go to the next slide so you can see where we run this survey. Yes. So it's in 31 countries and territories around the world. We ask around 1,000 people in each country about their views on business and society and other long-term trends. This is something we have done for more than 25 years now. And we also drill down to the employees in this sample. So we ask people, do you work for a company with more than 1,000 employees? So we're able to identify people who work for very large private companies. They don't necessarily work in sort of corporate functions or office function. They may also work at a really low level. So they could be the baristas, the servers, the technicians, call centers, things like that, all around the world. But what they all have in common is that they are employed by very large corporations. So we have asked questions to employees for more than 20 years. But what happened last year is we partnered with Ashoka, which was really amazing to be able to look a little bit deeper into this sample, and especially looking at empowerment and seeing how empowered employees feel. And we're trying to find out get some insights to see how we can better empower them to become change makers. And this is a collaboration that we're very excited to continue this year, to drill down further and to fine tune our questions and to get even more insights to see how we can drive this change making and empowerment among employees. And this survey was run last year, just to say in August, and the next wave is going to happen in August this year. Can go to the next slide. So we got some really interesting results from this survey. One of the kind of important ones, I think, that is very important for companies to take notice of is that over 7 in 10 employees feel that there is actually a gap between what their company says about social and environmental responsibility and how they
Tove, you put yourself on mute. We stopped being able to hear you.
oh that's strange. I didn't. Okay.
Yes, you're back.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so there basically employees are perceiving this gap. So they feel that many times their employers are not walking the talk. Like they might be talking a lot about what they're doing in social and environmental responsibility areas, but they don't feel like they actually live up to this. And this is quite consistent across the world. People in the Africa, Middle East region are a little bit more likely to say so, and people in Europe are a little bit less, but it's quite remarkably consistent. The numbers are about 30% or so strongly believe that there is a gap between what their company says and what they do. Can move to the next slide. Okay, so here we can see that there is a really large risk to inaction. This is a question that we have been tracking over more than 20 years, and it has stayed really solid. Over 80% of corporate employees at least some would agree that the more socially and environmentally responsible their company becomes, the more motivated and loyal they become as an employee. So this is a really strong business case for ESG and for really staying the course on purpose and being responsible, because employees really, really care about this, and they feel really motivated and they feel really loyal because of this. And of course, if they don't feel that companies are living up to their promises, that's going to affect loyalty as well as motivation. The next slide. This question we asked for the first time this year in collaboration with Ashoka. And we did find quite happily that 8 in 10 employees at least somewhat agree that they contribute. They feel that they're contributing to positive social and environmental solutions through their work. Of course, people may be interpreting this a bit differently across the world and depending on their position. We didn't elaborate on how people contribute. So we saw through the comments that they're giving that maybe for some people this just means doing a good job or helping customers, whereas other ones have more maybe more specific roles in social and environmental solutions. What we did was we followed up. So the people that said, yes, I agree, I contribute, we asked them, what enables you to contribute? And the ones that say, no, I do not contribute, which is quite a small group, actually. It's only 6% globally that strongly disagree. They don't feel that they're contributing at all. But we did ask them, what is hindering you from contributing? So from this, we got some really, really important insights. And we found that a supportive organizational culture is really important for enabling employees to contribute to social change and positive solutions. The next slide. So yes, we found the companies can invest in shifting their internal cultures to fully harness the potential of their employees toward a just transition. Go to the next slide. So we got thousands and thousands, or at least hundreds and hundreds of really interesting comments from employees around the world. And this is really fascinating to see in their own words what they feel is helping them contribute to stay engaged and to make a difference in the social and environmental areas, and what is stopping them from doing so in their work. For example, companies actively encourages everyone. The corporate culture is focused on this. This is in our DNA, or there are incentive mechanisms to encourage people. Those are examples of what is encouraging employees to participate. But for the ones that don't feel that they can do anything, they say things like, it's not part of my job, the working hours and tasks are just too much, or there are no options for me in a company with 22,500 employees. I'm at the bottom of the hierarchy, so there's absolutely nothing that I can do. Go to the next slide, please. We grouped these responses, the comments, into themes. So these were the 5 key enabler themes that we found across all of these comments from people who felt that they are able to make a difference. And especially this creative and autonomous culture stood out. So this is really, and people feel empowered, like they feel like they're allowed to speak out and to come up with ideas. And they're encouraged to do so. That is really, really important. But also something that came out was the strong collaboration and teamwork. Those who feel like their colleagues are also interested, or they can collaborate with their colleagues, or they can even collaborate outside of their company with other organizations and NGOs, or they can collaborate with their managers. That was also driving some people to make a difference. Access to education and tools came out, because people in many cases do not know much about these things, about in the environment, for example. So to be able to learn about what they can do was really important to some of the respondents. Strong leadership and vision comes out as well. So this is about having the, being in the DNA of the company, and that they keep communicating this to the employees, that really kind of encourage them to take action. Looking here at, can we go back? Okay. The barriers that hinder employees from contributing to social and environmental solutions at work, we also grouped into themes, and also 5 key themes came out here. One thing that really stood out was it's viewed as others' responsibility. It's just not part of my job. So it hasn't even occurred to a lot of employees that they could do these things, because perhaps there's a sustainability department that does it, or they're just part of the kind of ground floor employees. Let's say you're a server at McDonald's or something like that. So you feel like this is part of their sort of headquarters tasks, not mine. Lack of time, of course, people are just overwhelmed with the tasks, every day-to-day stress of their job, so they don't have any headspace to think of these things. Or no control or influence, another one, like the one who was at the bottom of the hierarchy of a 22,500 people company. Just nobody's giving them the opportunity to take any kind of initiative like that. Or lack of knowledge. Some people said, I just don't know anything about these issues. Or I don't know even how I could do anything because I don't have the skills for this. Or, of course, lack of budget and resources came out a lot. No money. A lot of people said, we don't have any money in my company for these things. Or they just, there are not enough people to help with these kind of initiatives. So a lot of companies are restrained by budget and resources, and employees feel like for this reason they cannot become empowered to become change makers. I believe that is the last finding that I have on my side.
Thank you, Tove. Yes, thank you so much. So let's move into the panel conversation right now. But I just want to say I heard you talk through it, the 5 enablers resonate so much with when we talk about change maker skills, right? What it takes to be a driver of positive change in society, right? So creativity, autonomy, collaboration, teamwork, right? So I see it's good to see that that's already sort of present in a lot of companies' culture and being successful in driving change. So Sarah, I wanna go to you first. Why is this important? Help us understand like the kind of macro picture of what employees are saying and reporting and experiencing, and what companies can do. Why is all of that important for accelerating the just transition?
Thanks, Jeanine. Yeah, I'm going to speak a little bit more to why I think the report was particularly important. And it was so much fun to work with GlobeScan. It was a great collaboration. So thank you for Tove for letting us do this experiment. And I think Tanja from Boehringer Ingelheim and John can speak a bit more to the macro level and why it's important for companies specifically. But regarding the research, I think 2 aspects of the research were important and kind of gave a little bit of a different angle to this topic of sustainability inside companies. The first is that we asked employees directly. So a lot of these sustainability reports are asking business leaders, are asking the decision makers, the CEOs, the board members, the senior executives, investors. And I felt really privileged to be asking a broad base of employees across the world about what's enabling them to contribute to impact at work and what are the barriers. And it was quite touching to read the quotes and to hear about that in their direct words. And this also is a huge design principle that social entrepreneurs are using. And so in Ashoka's 45 years of supporting social entrepreneurs, we see again and again that to have effective social change, you need to have everyone's voice at the table, particularly the voice of people that aren't always in decision-making power. So for me, this was a really important survey for that reason, and also why I'm happy that we're able to go deeper and into a second edition of this survey in the fall. And so the second reason I think this was important is that when we asked these employees about enablers and barriers, as Tove said, a huge theme that came out was culture. When you ask the senior leaders, a lot of the themes that are coming out is around data, lack of technology, lack of skills, lack of capital. And yes, that was in the mix, but there was a big theme on the enabling culture that's allowing me to contribute. And we define culture as, generally the way things happen in my company. And so clearly there's policies, practices, values, a lot of different aspects of that. But through the responses of the employees, I think there was a very more silent aspect of culture, and what I would call a people positive culture. And so in the responses, we saw a lot of references to autonomy, to creativity, to feeling like my opinion counts, feeling ownership, feeling I can contribute to decision making, even small decisions. And so I think for me, this also touched on a huge design principle that social entrepreneurs are using, which is activating people. Ashoka surveyed we survey our fellows every 2 years. And in the last survey, we found that 70% of our Ashoka fellows are activating others to create change. This is a huge social change strategy. And so I think it's really interesting to apply that to companies. And you can start to see how this can be very relevant to accelerating sustainability inside companies. So those were, for me, I worked very closely with Tove on this report, 2 things that were particularly exciting for me.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I love that almost democratizing access to who can drive change, right? And making those voices heard too. That really resonates with me as well. Thank you. Tanja, let's go over to you. I'd love to hear also how do these report findings speak to you? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about Boehringer Ingelheim's journey to merge sustainability and culture, and what you've learned there and how it has affected your internal and external impact. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to see, you know, in the survey that it touches upon the social and environmental solutions that we're looking for, right? And I think that's a moment in time where we see it's even more necessary than ever. And then, so I think a lot of people feel that, and at the same time, it also motivates them in their own career, right, to contribute to that. So there's a felt need, and it also adds to their own well-being, I would almost say, to support that. And if I then speak about the company I'm working for, so Boehringer Ingelheim, a healthcare company with 55,000 people. So you can get lost, and you could be, you know, at the end of the pyramid also realizing, hey, how can I contribute? And I think that's also one of the barriers that we see. So do I know about it, how I can contribute? And can I then really also know which skills I can contribute with? So it always requires a lot of communication and continuous efforts, right? But I think what we have established also, and you mentioned it, sustainability and culture is in one department, that we realize that if we want to contribute to sustainability, we do that through our work in human, pharma, and in animal health, but we also do that through our engagement in the wider world and in communities, with NGOs, with social entrepreneurs, with social startups. And by making that very strategic, not only that we want to contribute externally, but that through our culture and through that supportive culture that you spoke about in the GlobeScan survey as well, we really make it part of our DNA, and people feel that. That's why they get attracted, and then they can also contribute internally in their work, but also through, for example, volunteering. So maybe as a start of the conversation.
Yes, thank you. Can I pick something apart while we have you spotlighted? Can you give us maybe one or two concrete examples of how you're making it a part of your DNA, or how have you done that already?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a journey, right? So we really started with the collaboration with Ashoka, first of all, already in 2010. And we said we want to contribute in the outside communities through collaboration with social enterprises. And that work has really evolved, I would say, to many different programs that we do. And in the survey, you also see education and tools are key. So we said, let's create, first of all, a digital program, right? Where people can join, not only with people from Boehringer Ingelheim, but also with other companies, to get an idea of what is social entrepreneurship, and how could I contribute, and how does that look like externally, but also within the company, being a social entrepreneur, right? So that's one thing that we started with, and that evolved into, could we find collaboration for longer term, so many months, where an executive in our organization then really collaborates with a social entrepreneur, and to strengthen that social enterprise on the one hand, to create more impact in the outside world, but also to strengthen the leadership of the executive, him or herself. And so you see that beneficiary output on both sides, or maybe even for all three, right? Communities, social enterprises, and then the employees. And that evolved, I think that's the newest, into a social innovation hub, where we say, you know, if we find teams in our organization that collaborate with social enterprises and really bring forward a project that adds to more health, in our case, then we're even further, right? Then we're beyond learning. Then we're really also actively contributing to having impact in the outside world. And so having those social innovation hubs is, yeah, I think a glorious moment for us and in the collaboration. And there's much more to share on volunteering and yeah. So
yeah, I'm sure.
many
Yeah,
more
but
things.
thank you for that. I mean, at Changemaker Company, we feel very strongly that companies that understand that they can and should engage with social entrepreneurs to learn from and enhance impact, that's such a huge advantage, right? So it's so great to hear you say that, and that BI already has sort of really incorporated that understanding and built strategy around that. John, let's go over to you. So I'd love to similarly hear your reaction to the results, and then a little bit more about Kersia's program with Ashoka and what prompted you personally also to take a role in that.
Well, Anglican was acquired by Kersia 3 years ago, and I was on the second group of people that were able to go and be in the retreat and really learn and do a deep dive into you know, all these things that we have mentioned, social entrepreneurship and doing this. So my first thoughts were I wanted to learn about Kersia, so I thought I could go and you know, be around a lot more other people from Kersia from around the world, and so that's what I wanted to do, and so that's what prompted me to do that. And being there, you know, I got to you know, speak personally with our CEO and his thoughts on this, and his thoughts were this is the management style of Kersia, and this is what they want to do, and it kind of opened my eyes up to what is possible and what needs to be done. And the main thing that I listened to when you were doing the presentation was the barriers of influence. And so on that influence barrier, that really strikes me because this is what really Ashoka and this management style that we're adopting through them and through that help is wherever you're at in that chain, like say at the very bottom in these big companies or at the very top or you're in the middle somewhere, that influence needs to go up the chain and down the chain, and really empowering the people that you're working with. And instead of we're not going to be able to work with SOPs all the time. It's not going to be standard operating procedure. And so when you have a problem, you can't and you just present it to your boss and say, okay, here's the problem. What do I do? And you might not get the answer you want. You might get the answer you want, but not only provide that when you're providing that issue, provide that influence. And then we can go and everything will be applied in a better way where action gets taken faster. That being said, you have to provide that confidence for the people to provide that influence. And that's really where a lot of this, just at the very base level, there, if you have that influence, you have the confidence to influence people and people below you and people above you. And we're talking more in that way to where we know we can have some influence and talk to people that way. That just provides such a better platform for success in what we're doing in an everyday thing. And also too, when I've been privileged enough to work with a great social entrepreneur, and we've got a team together and we're working that way. It's absolutely necessary in that way. In whatever your expertise is, those expertises come together and everybody's able to influence towards progress instead of saying, okay, what do I do? Here it is, A, B, and C. Things just don't work that way in business a lot. So just being emboldened with that influence, whether it's going below or above us, is, I feel like, one of the more powerful things that comes through Ashoka, and having that style of management all the way from, like say, the CEO down. One thing also too that Ashoka has done in doing the committed and different, and all of us being involved in that, is it made the Kersia universe a lot smaller. And I really enjoyed that. We get to collaborate with people. You form relationships. You see what they're doing better in certain ways, and maybe it's technology that you're falling behind on, and you see how they do it, and you can apply it to your own thing. And so that just within the business of your own business and your other partners there, you can see what everybody's doing better and apply that to you. There's a lot more open dialogue that way to where you can improve your day-to-day operations. And I really feel like that's our best return on investment, I would feel like, on working with Ashoka on this, is just making us all a little bit better by knowing what everybody's strengths are and being able to apply that to our own day-to-day operations.
Yeah. Thank you. That's fascinating. I was gonna I was hoping you would talk about how you bring it back to your day-to-day. Could I ask you to tell us just in a little more detail what the interaction is with a social entrepreneur? Like, what is concretely the project that you're working on, if you're able to share?
Thank you for asking me. I love talking about this project. So I'm working with a lady, Nora Joseph from Haiti right now, and we are getting together food safety training, and there's a clean water aspect that Kersia has, and also getting other partners around, trying to provide more sustainable packaging. So Nora works with street vendors, micro franchises, and really is focusing on the health of the food from local vendors, local producers, all the way to the vendor. And it's a really exciting project. And one of the great things is getting involved with these social entrepreneurs. They're dynamic people. And I feel like Nora could write a book about her life if she wanted to, but she's too busy doing other stuff. But so just being able to be in contact with these people is great. And just learning that. And as far as that being an exciting thing in what we're doing, also too, it's providing kind of a template for us to be able to move that to other places in the world that have this sort of chain of food that goes from local producers to vendors, and being able to be relevant in that aspect is Kersia, and being able to show or being able to provide a healthier and safe food service for everybody there. The people in this group have grown. I've got the marketing people from Canada helping us out now, from Kersia Canada, and a lot of people are excited to help, and it's been kind of encouraging that way. There is a lot of things that, you know, it's hard to work with, the time and all that stuff that we talk about, but it's been really good to figure out all that. We've been able to partner with other people, so I'm excited we're at a place to where she is able to get some people with dairy cows, individuals that have a few there, and we're replicating through another partner outside of Agrochem and Kersia to replicate the way that they are collecting the milk and getting that milk from raw milk to yogurt and just drinkable milk for the people there in Haiti. And to be able to utilize the local resources and not depend on such uncertainty with Port-au-Prince being shut down and stuff, and not getting that stuff out to the more rural parts. But that is definitely something I started. I thought, okay, we'll do this, and it's just become more exciting by the day. And just a small, as far as this return on investment, you know, the things like this do help with retention, and you can put a value to that and whatever it is. And just a personal story, you know, a lot of times we're dealing with a lot of other people. You might get offered another job or something, and the guy that I'm kind of close to, he was like, hey, you need to come work for us, this and that. And I was kind of, you know, being polite and everything. And he said, why do you want to stay there? Why do you want to do that? And I said, let me tell you about this project I got going. And we're in the middle of it. And then he gets excited about it, and we start talking about it, and he gives me more contacts to go. And it's just one of those, you become more involved in everything. And I think that for anybody that would be involved, you get involved in these projects, you want to see them all the way through. It becomes a part of the, let's say, the DNA of the company. And so it's just one of those things you can get real excited about and real proud to, you know, come home and talk to your wife about, and come home and talk to your kids about and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's so amazing. And I love also when you talked about the universe becoming smaller and just increasing the collaboration ability and the relationships and the potential. That's it's good to know how the culture shift is happening through launching these impact projects, right? So that's exciting. So let's spotlight all the whole panel, Philippe, if we can. And I have a question for everyone. Maybe we'll start with Sarah. But let's get into the enabling and hindering factors, right? I'd love to hear whether you want to talk about enabling or hindering or both. What needs to be in place for this work to be happening inside companies, right? For employees to be empowered like this, like John said, and their influence to be sort of allowed to flourish. So Sarah, maybe let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, I started that, but I think John and Tanja, who are in this thick, have a much better perspective of what the enablers are inside companies. But I think John spoke a lot to the theme of autonomy, or that's what I would call it. And I love the idea of aligned autonomy. So there's a clear North Star and a clear purpose that employees are working for. You know, there's a scope, whether it's health or it's food safety or but there's a lot of autonomy to allow employees to step up and contribute in the way that they want. John, thank you for telling your story. I had not fully heard the full package, and it's really inspiring. I can see the passion. I think two aspects that are more from the Ashoka perspective. I think one is that I've been thinking about is language, the language that we use. I've really enjoyed that Boehringer Ingelheim and Kersia have so a lot of this traditional language, volunteering, pro bono, social missions, employee engagements, that doesn't show at the heart of what this work is really all about. And I think we get stuck in this kind of social language. And so I appreciate how Boehringer Ingelheim and Kersia have chosen language it's a bit jargony. You don't always know what they're talking about. I know at Boehringer Ingelheim we talk about executives in residence. We talk about Insights Week. Kersia's program is called Committed Indifferent. But I think it's important to choose language that's not putting employees in a box and say, oh, I'm going to go off and do my volunteering, you know, outside of work hours. So I really appreciate that. And I one request for companies to continue to push the boundaries of the language that they're choosing to talk about this work. And the second, I think, is having the right data. John started speaking a little bit about the ROI, and I actually sometimes appreciate talking about the ROI a bit more than impact, because impact I really feel like is, you know, the impact in communities, and but the ROI for the company. I think what's interesting about these more transformational engagements is that, I mean, John's talked about leadership, he talked about skills development, he talked about retention. I think another thing you're starting to see is the innovation, and how innovation is not coming from a mandated innovation team. It's coming from the periphery, and it's coming company wide, and it's a social innovation. And I think that's also just a quick anecdote. Kersia posted today on LinkedIn. It's Biodiversity Day, and they were referring to a Ashoka fellow that they're working with called Biodiversity to monitor the healthiness of bee pollen. So they're now have established this in 3 different sites, and through monitoring bee pollen, you can look at the content of the pesticides, you can look at if there's heavy metals, you can look at the plant diversity. This idea came from a social entrepreneur, and is now, you know, established in 3 different Kersia sites. And I know there's examples from Boehringer Ingelheim too. So I think the innovation also is I think the opportunity to collect and measure the ROI and to measure data differently also is an opportunity here. That changes the conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, definitely. Tanja, let's go over to you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, and maybe to start with something that both of you said, right? There is something of making it simple to engage, right? And that it becomes contagious in a way, right? So, and one of the things that came to my mind, which we see happening because we're in animal health and human health, right? And one of the topics that we tackle or that we see in social challenges, but you could argue also in animal and environmental challenges is that we have a huge action around Stop Rabies. And Stop Rabies, I mean, is in dogs, clearly. 60,000 people die each year. So it's a very simple story, and people would like to engage to solve that issue, right? And on the one hand, they can do that through hands-on volunteering. And on the other hand, of course, we have a lot of veterinarians in our organization. They can really also use their skills in such a campaign and really try to educate not only adults, but especially also children, right? So we provide the vaccines, then we tell the story, and we have also low-hanging fruit for everyone. And with these kind of campaigns, I think we make it more tangible and more easy, and we can speak to it, and then it becomes storytelling, which then, of course, helps again to get the message out to everyone in the organization. So maybe not to contribute then to Stop Rabies, but to another program, right? Either to collaborate with NGOs or social entrepreneurs or social startups. And then, of course, we come to the question of return on investment or impact or output. I think what we recently did is that we engaged in a methodology that is well known, I would say, where you basically really talk about the activities that you do together to create, in the end, the output, the outcomes, and the impact that you want to achieve. And I think that way of thinking is very important to drive and focus the work, because some of the work might, be, okay, anything we do goes, right? And now I think with a framework like that, I think we can target the work, focus the work, and also tell the story in a simple way, then back again to engage even more people internally with our employees, but at the same time also to engage social entrepreneurs and others to engage with us to create that impact that we want to see. So that's an important milestone that we talk about that. The social return on investment, I think we're at the beginning of speaking in those terms. Of course, if you look at the environmental solutions, there are much more KPIs and more measurements around CO2 reductions. So there's another language, I would say, to measure those outputs and outcomes and impact in the end. Yeah, but all of it is important. And in the end, it is about the work, right? Whatever you measure, it is about the work that we do together to improve our wider surroundings and the people and animals living in it.
Yeah, I love that, because I mean, obviously I agree. I think everyone would that the metrics are important and that the measurement is important, but I love the last thing you said, just doing it is what's really the most important, right? Finding these spaces for these collaborations to flourish. John, over to you. It can be on this ROI piece or anything else. You guys have done such an interesting job embedding it into the culture. I'd love to hear your, you talked about the kind of the signaling piece from the CEO, but is there anything else that you feel really enabled that, and what's still hard about it maybe?
The thing I have the most difficulty with is just time, and time's always going to be difficult.
We're having a lot of background noise from you. It's very hard to hear you. Let's try again.
Is that any better at all?
When you speak, it sounds very metallic, like you're in some future factory, perhaps futuristic factory. You want to try one more time?
Is this any better at all?
No.
But
maybe we can handle. Oh, now it is. Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
Yes.
Lost my train of thought there, but the one thing too with this is it's interesting to hear, and I've been fortunate enough to be in our sandbox committees and be able to hear everybody else's projects from across the world. And there's a lot of very ambitious ones. There's a lot of very interesting ones. They're all interesting, but there's also two, not to focus on these, we don't only have to focus on these huge projects that we feel like they're going to change the world, but there's also these smaller ones that are very interesting and gets a lot of people involved as well. And one little thing that we did at Agrichem here in USA is, so our plant's in New York and we sell nationwide, of course. And if I just drive to town right now, I'm going to pass 4 or 5 dairy farms and everything, and I'm on a dairy farm every day. But I was talking with a colleague, and we realized that the guy that's been pretty much getting one product together for 20 years has never been anywhere where he saw his product being used. And so I call this a small project because it's just, again, kind of in our own company and within our own plant workers. And the hope was to keep our employees happy and keep them engaged in what they're doing and have them believe in what they're doing. So instead of just a normal appreciation day, we went out to the farm. They got to see where their products are going and know what they're doing, what kind of impact that has in the processing and the production side of the dairy industry and in agriculture as a whole. So there's a lot of projects out there like that. And so we kind of take a turn of the salesman going in there and knowing what those guys in the plant are doing, how they're being efficient in what they're doing, and minimal waste and all that stuff, and the difficulties that they do, instead of saying, hey, I just need this yesterday, please send it. So now we all kind of have an idea of what's going on, and everybody knowing who our end customer is and who are and how we're affecting food safety across the United States. So, a small project like that, and just other things, there's a small group of people in Ireland that built a garden, and they garden every time, and they have a really cool place, and they have pictures of butterflies and birds that are visiting this, and just things like that to bring people together and kind of have that influence that way, that I think has been real inspiring. So there's all kinds of different, from small, what you would call maybe small, to big projects that infiltrate that, culture that I think are really neat. And it just lets us get our eyes outside of ourselves and see what's going on and be able to bring about change that way.
Hey, John, you mentioned the Sandbox initiative where a lot of these projects are coming out of. Can you just say a couple words on how that works at Kersia?
Yes. So if you have a project, you're in the Committed and Different program, and you want to present it, you've got full freedom to do so. So you get it together. We have a sponsor that helps us with that. Also, too, bring in team members to help you do that and help you present as well. So you can, if you see something that needs to be done, do it and get the project together, and let's figure out if it's something that we present it to everybody and see if it's something that can go forward. And there's been a lot of great things with that. I've talked to a lot of people, got information for my own projects, helped people with their own other projects. And it's a short, I think we get 5 minutes, goes in front of the corporate team and answer questions about it. It's really a safe place just to put it out there and see what everybody else thinks about it and move forward with it. And we also get a lot of feedback. Maybe you get feedback on what if other countries have done it, other parts of the company have done it, and get better that way. So it's not just you trying to start something in a bubble and then go in there. We really have access to everybody that needs to know about it, and we go from there. And a lot of times it'll start off like, I just have this one little thing I want to do, and then you start talking to people, and it becomes this bigger and bigger and grows, and other people have the same thought on it, and that initiative can grow from there. So it's been a really positive thing with the Sandbox.
This is a great example of taking.
Hear this, because we have a similar thing, and we call it Back to the Future. So literally a bag of an idea, and you bring it in, and you see what's happening there. Also about almost a viral change, right? Where everyone is invited to then also bring other colleagues, and then you see it across countries that they collect then a team to make that project work, and there's indeed also a bit of funding there. And that works, right? To then create energy around a certain topic where someone is passionate for anyhow.
Yeah.
And just to make that bigger.
I love that.
I think these
You
two
know.
things are a great example of how some of the enablers that we heard about and barriers that Tove presented can actually be brought into an actual program, right? Inside our company.
Yeah.
This is activating employees, it's giving them more autonomy, it's letting them influence, it's giving them decision-making.
Right. And we know that one of the barriers is just how risky a lot of this is, right? And that's you know why we started talking about the metrics and ROI and needing to justify that, but creating the safe space where people can come and essentially reduces the risk of taking action, right? And doing something new and innovative and impactful. Yeah, that does seem like an important enabling environment that addresses a lot of the really difficult things about doing this work inside companies. So I want to do a quick check with our audience. Does anybody have a question for all our panelists, a specific panelist? Ashoka, anybody? We don't see any in the chat, so feel free to raise your hand or just unmute.
I have something. I just came from the research that we have done. I was wondering about the people that are really at the lowest levels. Because I'm wondering if this only includes kind of the people in the offices and such. Does it also include the people who are driving the trucks or the technicians, the people that's really on the ground? How do you involve those people? Because I found a lot of our research did involve those people, and a lot of them seemed really, really disempowered. And I just felt like they had no idea what was going on, and they just felt like they were at the bottom, and they really didn't have access to be able to participate in any initiatives like this.
And that's a great question, I would say. And sometimes that is the risk, right? And not so much due to the disinterest, because they are contributing, and maybe also in their private life, you know, already contributing a lot to solving some of the social and environmental challenges that we have. But we did find that sometimes indeed in shift workers, for example, or gardeners or cooks, you know, we have in the restaurant, were not engaged. And so 3 years ago, we came together in India, where we closely collaborate also with an NGO. And we basically started to have a program of 4 weeks where we invite what we call trainees, but those trainees are trainees for commercial assistants or for let's say indeed lower level jobs, practical jobs. And so now they are having an engagement and an exchange for 4 weeks with people in India, where they basically share their skills for 4 weeks, but of course they also learn a lot, right? And I mean, that's for a small amount of people, but what we saw is that actually, because we engaged them for 4 weeks and they learned so much and they told their stories, is that we now see a larger engagement in local volunteering as well happening. So it has right away also that butterfly effect, I would say.
Thank you. John, do you have a thought on this?
Yeah, I feel Kersia has done a pretty good job with that. You know, the more technical jobs, I've met plenty of guys that have gone through the program and stuff. I know it kind of helps once one person has gone through the project and they go home and talk about it, then you get more involvement that way. So I think it does seem to be a very diverse group from, like I say, from management to more technical shift work that way. So I feel like there's been a pretty good involvement throughout the whole deal there.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So we're almost at time. We're gonna just leave you with some thoughts and next steps and resources. But first, please use your reaction buttons at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar to help me thank our panelists for being here with us today. This was, I mean, you know, amazing to hear these concrete examples of how both of your companies and both of you are actually working with the social sector to drive change and engaging employees to do that. So thank you both so much. And Sarah, you as well. I know you worked really hard on this survey. And Tove, there's so many people to thank. You know, my Oscar speech. So thank you all very much. So we're gonna, Philip, I don't know if you want to share the last slide, but we just popped something in the chat. We have some resources just on what you heard here today. Thank you. There's our 2 case studies in Boehringer, Ingelheim, and Kersia. If you want to have a look, then we have this just a collection of employee engagement research that we've put together. And then also, so Changemaker Companies is our mission, our passion. What we love to do is help companies do this work with social entrepreneurs. If you or anyone you know could benefit from a conversation with us, we have this recommendation form that you can fill out and let us know, and then we will follow up with you. Right? We're passionate about driving this work and partnering with people in companies to accelerate the just transition via social entrepreneurship. So, yeah, please don't be shy. Reach out if you think this would be beneficial. Thank you, everyone. I think that's it. Philippe, any final words?
No, thank you everyone for joining us. It was a pleasure. And thank you to the panelists.
Yes, and Philippe, thank you for everything you did on the back end. This doesn't just happen. And we had that crazy glitch of everyone coming in with your name. That was wild times for our webinar. All right. Thank you all. Have a
Thanks,
great rest of
everyone.
your days.
Have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Okay. I think we can close it and let's jump over to the Zoom, to the Teams.
To the teams.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.